The island of Sodor has many resources to keep everything running. One very important resource is stone from the quarry. Engines travel to and fro, making deliveries often. A kind diesel is stationed at the quarry. Her name is Mavis. She's young and full of her own ideas, but wants to be a really useful engine. One day the yard manager came to see her. "I've got some good news, Mavis. You'll get to travel out today. Your help is needed at Napford Station. They need an extra shunter." Mavis was pleased. She had never been to Napford. "Oh yay! Somewhere new," she said, and rolled away. On her way to the station, Mavis took in all the sights. She loved to travel. When she arrived at the big station, the mainline engines eyed her suspiciously. They had never met Mavis. "Hello there." "It's nice to meet." "About time you showed up," interrupted James. "Hurry along and fetch our trains." "Whew! How rude," said Mavis, and scurried over to the yard. Mavis set to work at once. She busied around the sidings, making sure everything was in line. She arranged the cars and coaches how she saw fit, and thought she was doing a marvelous job. Presently, Gordon arrived. "Excuse me," he said impatiently. "Where are my coaches?" "Oh, why, they're right over there. On platform 3. "Oh, you silly diesel. My coaches are supposed to be on platform 1, not 3. "I only shunted them quickly to arrange another train. I thought it a waste of time to—" "You're a waste of time," said Gordon. "Coaches should be where we expect them, not where you want them." "Humph! Well, you can put them wherever you like. I will not work with you horrid engines." And she didn't. Soon the passengers began grumbling. Mavis still didn't budge. The Fat Controller came out of his office to stop the noise. "Oh, please settle down," he said. "We will have everything arranged shortly." He then walked up to Mavis. "Mavis, I brought you here because I know you're a hard worker. And I must say, you certainly aren't showing that now." "Apologies, sir, but I refuse to work with these engines when all they do is treat me harshly." "You cannot stop working when you don't like something," said Gordon. "Don't be such a fusspot," said Henry. The Fat Controller turned to them. "I don't believe you should be the ones to talk," he said sternly. The two were embarrassed. He turned back to Mavis. "Now then, I am sorry for the other's behavior, but you still have a job to do, and I expect you to do your best. The cars and coaches must be in their designated areas." "Yes, sir," Mavis said sheepishly. "Good." For the rest of the day, Mavis shunted the trains where the other engines wanted. She worked without complaint and was mostly silent. After the day's work was over, the Fat Controller told Mavis how useful she was, and promised to put the other engines in line. And that evening, as she dozed off to sleep in her shed, she hoped her next adventure would be a bit more pleasant. Murdoch, the heavy goods engine, was relaxing in his shed. He had just delivered a long train and was looking forward to a nice rest. His rest was soon interrupted, however, when the Fat Controller arrived. "Afternoon, Murdoch. I have an important task for you." "What might it be, sir?" Murdoch asked reluctantly. "Unfortunately, Henry has had an accident. He's been taken to the works, and so you must fill in for him. First, you must deliver a goods train to Kildane. The station master will tell you what to do from there." "Right away, sir." And Murdoch puffed away to collect his cars. Murdoch, despite his size and strength, is a very quiet individual. He doesn't like crowds, and sometimes prefers to be alone. When he reached Kildane Station, Oliver was there. He whistled hello to Murdoch, but Murdoch didn't respond. He didn't know Oliver, and felt uncomfortable. After he left Kildane, Murdoch travelled to Kelsthorne. The station master was waiting at the platform. "Ah, you must be Henry's replacement," he said. "Indeed I am," said Murdoch. "Right. That goods train in the sidings must be taken to Knapford Harbour." Murdoch winced. He knew how loud and noisy the harbour was, but he also knew he had to finish his work. On his way to the harbour, Murdoch started to think about all the crowds and noise. He stopped at a junction. Edward puffed up. "Oh my, Murdoch, you don't look well at all. What's the matter, my dear engine?" Murdoch was hesitant about speaking to Edward. "You look nervous. Are you worried about something?" Murdoch knew Edward wanted to help. Finally, he spoke up. "Yes, Edward, I am. Whenever I'm around engines I don't know, I tend to get nervous. That's one of the reasons I prefer quietness. It's worse when I'm surrounded by others. All the noise and unfamiliar faces frighten me. Before I came to Sodor, I never wanted to leave my other railway, but I knew if I didn't come to the island, well, I wouldn't have lasted much longer." I see. Well, Murdoch, it can't always be easy traveling to new places, and you're not wrong for being frightened. Something I like to do when nervous or stressed is go to my happy place. Happy place? Yes. A place you think up and pretend you're there whenever you're troubled. It can be whatever you want. I like to think about my friends and my cozy shed. Huh. Thank you, Edward. I'll try that. And Murdoch continued on. Soon Murdoch arrived at the harbour. It had all the hustle and bustle that he expected, but he stayed calm and imagined he was in the peaceful countryside. For the rest of the day, Murdoch did his work with a smile. When the day's work was finally over, Murdoch puffed back into the sheds and enjoyed a nice rest. The yard was lonely while Thomas was being mended. Percy and Toby managed their work well, but their new acquaintance wasn't too keen on helping.
I don't understand it, Toby. Why does Daisy refuse to pull anything?
It's a shame, replied Toby. She just doesn't know what real work is.
Real work?
Daisy fumed as she came to the sheds.
Why, all I do is real work. After all, I am the most beloved engine on this line. The passengers adore me.
I'm sure they don't adore blown fuses, for one thing. Daisy was indignant.
If I never had to pull that filthy tanker, I'd be right as rain.
She then went angrily to sleep. Next morning, the yard manager spoke to Daisy.
You needed it, Brandon. There's a special train and you're to pull it.
Oh, a special. Why, of course I will. It's about time the Fat Controller recognizes my utility.
She thought to herself. She rolled importantly into the harbour. Boko was waiting for her.
Why, hello there. You must be Daisy. Oh, nice to meet another diesel. I'm Boko.
Yes, that would be me. Pleasure to meet you. Have you my coaches?
Boko looked puzzled.
Coaches? Whatever for?
For the special I meant to take?
Boko thought for a moment. Then he laughed.
Oh no, my dear. You're pulling a good special. I've already arranged your trucks.
Daisy looked over in horror at the line of trucks waiting for her. She turned red in the face.
Oh no, there must be a mistake. I'm not meant to pull trucks.
Why ever not?
It's bad for my swerves. I only pull passengers.
Boko saw no point in arguing.
I suppose you can pick up visitors from the clay pits. I'll handle these.
Daisy perked up.
Oh, thank you, Boko.
No worries. Just take that brake van and...
Oh no, I won't need that. I've plenty of room for passengers.
Right then. If you'll excuse me, I'll best be off.
Daisy departed for the clay pits. She had never been there, but was glad there would be passengers. When she arrived, Daisy was disgusted. The clay pits were dusty and sandy.
Blech! What a mess.
Just then, Ben raced past her and kicked up a great amount of dust.
Watch it, you.
She was directed to a siding where she waited for the tourists. They were loud and full of excitement. Some children were covered in sand. Daisy was exhausted.
Come on, come on. I've had a dreadful day.
Daisy trundled angrily back to the station and waited while the passengers left. A small boy came up to her.
Thank you for the ride. You're a lovely engine. Oh, why? Thank you, lad.
Daisy was so pleased that she forgot to be cross. That night she returned to the sheds. The others were surprised to see her in such a mood. "What's got you smiling?" asked Toby.
You won't believe it. I took passengers from the clay pits today.
She said importantly.
I even got complimented on my running.
Oh, well done, Daisy. Very well done. Daisy smiled and fell happily asleep. Percy and Toby sat calmly. "Perhaps the clay pits are just the place for her," said Toby jokingly. "She seems to enjoy it." Thomas the tank engine was travelling on his branch line one afternoon. He was upset and felt worked off the wheels. Bother Percy and that jam accident, he said. My boiler aches from all this straining. Come on, Thomas. The less you complain, the faster we can get this done, said his driver. Thomas still sulked. Thomas arrived at Ellsbridge. He was waiting for Henry. It was rather late. Oh, what's keeping old Square Wheels? Finally, Henry shuffled in. Whew. Sorry, Thomas. I tried to... About time you arrived, snapped Thomas. You've no idea how much needs done. You big engines only worry about yourselves.
Huh. Worry about ourselves indeed. You're lucky I'm trying to get here on time. You're not the only one having to pick up slack. James is being mended, and both Gordon and I are having trouble.
Thomas was indignant. You can handle it, if you're as strong as you claim. And he huffed off. Thomas was now late to meet Gordon. The coaches were heavy, and he found it hard to make up for time. At last he wearily puffed into the station.
Finally, Thomas! I thought you'd never arrive.
It's not my fault. I was doing well, but Henry...
No excuses, Thomas, Gordon hissed. Engines can't be kept waiting. Our timetables are most important.
As Gordon puffed away, Thomas considered his words. A few days later, Thomas was waiting at Toyerek for Bertie to arrive with his passengers. Where is that silly bus? He wondered. Realizing they had some time, Thomas's crew left to fetch tea from the station shop. Annie and Clarabelle were dozing while they waited. Thomas grew more and more impatient. Come on! He whistled loudly. This startled the coaches. They woke with a jump, bumping into Thomas. Thomas jerked forward. His regulator wasn't secure. He felt his wheels start to turn. Driver? Fireman? Thomas tried to brake, but he couldn't. The passengers on board were startled. We've left our luggage behind! They cried. Clarabelle's guard was on board and applied her brakes. The train came to a halt. Thomas's wheels were still slipping and caused an awful noise. The driver and fireman scrambled into Thomas's cab. They secured the regulator, and at last Thomas stopped. He felt disgraceful. After the day's work was over, Thomas puffed back to his shed. There, he met the Fat Controller.
Well, Thomas, it would seem you tried driving yourself yet again.
No, sir. My regulator...
Yes, I am aware your regulator was loose. For that, I shall speak to your driver. However, it was you who started Annie and Clarabelle. You must learn, Thomas, a schedule can't always be followed. Percy will be back tomorrow evening. I'm sure you two will have a splendid time discussing your antics. And he turned to leave. Oh, that's alright, Thomas, said Toby assuringly. Accidents happen now and again. I'm sure Percy could say the same. Thomas didn't say a word. He felt much better the next day, however, when Percy returned. And that evening, all three engines sat in the sheds, talking and joking. I'm pleased to say, they did have a splendid time indeed.
The narrow-gauge engines were finding life difficult. With Skarloey still being mended, they had to deal with more work than usual. But to hear Sir Handel talking, you would have thought it was for another reason.
All this extra work is making my axles hot. It's bothersome,
said Duncan. Speak for yourself, replied Sir Handel.
This work is nothing. Especially when you've got a nice extra pair of wheels.
Unfortunately, Sir Handel, we don't, said Rheneas.
Still, that's no excuse to be lazy. Rubbish, said Peter Sam. You've got too many wheels and not enough sense. That's what it is. Ha! The next day, the yard manager came to the sheds. There's a heavy shipment of freight that must be delivered to the top station. I'll need a pair of engines to take it. None of the engines wanted to volunteer. Eventually, Sir Handel spoke up. I can do it, he said proudly. I won't need another engine either. The yard manager pondered. Very well then, if you think you can manage. Sir Handel beamed and puffed importantly away. This'll show the others what a real hard-working engine can do, he thought to himself. He arrived at the station. He backed down onto the train. He was slow to start, but one by one, the cars moved forward. Come along, he said. Don't rush, said the cars. Sir Handel traveled through the countryside. He was having a pleasant time. Soon, however, he reached a steep hill. Sir Handel charged it, but couldn't reach the top. He backed down and tried to climb again, but to no avail. Rusty came up behind him. Having a bit of trouble, Sir Handel? He asked cheekily. Not at all. Just a slip of the wheel. That's a surprise, said Rusty. With your extra back wheels and all, it shouldn't be a problem. Sir Handel felt embarrassed. He was sorry. Can you please help me? I was wrong. I can't do this on my own. Rusty was pleased to help. Of course, he said. I'm glad you asked. Better late than never. Rusty coupled to the train, and the engines traveled on. They made it to the top station in no time. Thank you for helping me, Rusty. Of course, said Rusty. A pair of extra wheels can be useful, but sometimes an extra engine works even better. Sir Handel had to agree.
One calm evening on the Skarloey Railway, Duke was telling stories to the younger engines. He talked all about his older days, and how simple everything used to be.
And then you two scallywags came along, and I don't think I've been the same engine since.
Oh, Grandpuff, we know you like us really, laughed Peter Sam. I can't believe it's been so long since then. That seems like it was ages ago, said Sir Handel.
Yes, indeed. Well,
we'd better get some sleep. Just one more story? Asked Peter Sam.
Not tonight,
said Duke.
I'm worn out. You engines have too much energy.
Oh, all right. Good night, Grandpuff. As the other engines slept, Duke couldn't help but stay awake. He thought about what Sir Handel said.
That really was a long time ago.
The next day, Duke sat in the siding. He was having steaming problems, and his fire kept going out. Duke is a very old engine, and his system doesn't run like it used to. As his crew inspected him, he watched other trains roll by. He began to wonder if he was still as useful as the other engines. After a bit, his crew fixed the problem, and Duke finally left the sheds. Duke was to take tourists around the line. He mostly handled light passenger runs, and never strained himself. Duke liked taking passengers, but wondered if he could do anything else. After he finished his passenger run, Duke asked some other engines if they needed help.
That's alright, I've got it covered. Thank you for the offer,
said Scarlowy.
Help me? That won't be necessary,
said Duncan.
Sorry, Duke, but I can handle it,
said Rusty. Duke rolled back into the sheds. He didn't think he was needed. Rheneas came to fill up on water. He was in a cheery mood, until he saw Duke.
Hello, Duke. What's the matter?
He asked.
Oh, it's nothing, Rheneas. Just have a bad lot of cortisol. I see. Well, hopefully that gets cleared out quick.
Duke didn't want to tell Rheneas the truth. He thought it silly to be upset over his situation. It would never suit his grace. Come on, old boy. It's time for your next run, said his driver. Duke steamed away. As he trundled along to meet Peter Sam, Duke was distracted by his thoughts and started to run behind schedule. When he finally arrived, Peter Sam knew something was wrong. What's the matter, Grandpuff? Are your tubes clogged up?
Nothing's wrong. I'm just a bit behind schedule.
Peter Sam knew Duke wasn't telling the truth. Come on, Grandpuff. Would His Grace lie and keep secrets?
Certainly not,
said Duke.
It's just, I've never thought about how long it's really been since our older days. Sometimes I feel I can't keep up with you engines anymore.
Duke puffed away before Peter Sam could say another word. After the day's work was over, Duke returned to the shed. He sat in silence for quite some time. Later on, Peter Sam and Sir Handel came in alongside him. Feeling any better, Grandpuff? Peter Sam asked.
Not especially. Well, Grandpuff, you are an extraordinary engine. You can't forget that. Pish-posh, said Duke.
It is not. His Grace chose you especially to carry his legacy because he knew how useful you really were. You know that better than any of us. You're always on time with your trains, always kind to the coaches, and keep us in order, they said. Even though you've been around for a long while, you're still a reliable engine. Duke listened to what the two had said, and for the first time that day, he smiled.
This old engine is lucky to have two scallywags like you around. It's nice to see that I've taught you some sense after all these years.
Of course. After all, they said together, engines come and engines go. Grandpuff goes on forever.
When you have the will, you can climb the highest hill. Hard work, that's the way. Don't give up. Show determination. Don't give up. You'll be a big sensation. Keep your wheels turning, your pistons pumping hard.